Today we're going to be talking about losing oil pressure, oil pumps, cam plates, and oil pressure gauges. Now, I own a 2000 Harley Davidson Softail Deuce, which is the older model, obviously, of a twin cam. Now, this twin cam had, 05 and earlier, had spring tensioners for the cams and for the timing chain. So Harley recommends that these get changed every 20,000 miles. So I do mine much sooner than 20,000 miles just because that's the way I do things. So what we did, we were coming up on the time, did the work, took the cam cover off, took the cam plate out, removed my tensioners. While I had the cam plate out, I examined my cams to make sure they were okay. My lifters, they were fine. Looked at the oil pump and I saw some marks in there I didn't like, which I knew in the future was going to give me a problem. So I decided to change the oil pump out. So I went to my local Harley dealer. I bought a stock pump for it. It's not a high flow pump. It was just a stock pump that went for this engine. So I put everything back together according to the shop service manual, which is my Bible. I use it all the time for any bike I work on. Installed everything, fired the bike up. The bike ran fine, had good oil pressure. It came up to about 30 pounds cold, and let it run for about 5 to 10 minutes. And I was watching the oil pressure gauge because I do not run a bike without an oil pressure gauge. I don't trust idiot lights on motorcycles, cars, or trucks, so I always have oil pressure gauges. Well, as I was standing there watching it, I watched my oil pressure drop from about 28 to 30 pounds down to about 4 or 5, and it was instantaneous, so I knew immediately there was something wrong. Shut the bike down. And what I did then is I pulled the cam cover off, looked at the cam plate, didn't see anything, nothing jumped out at me, removed the cam plate and examined everything that I could examine, made sure that the O-ring was seated, and that's what I had thought it was. The O-ring that goes into the crankcase had possibly cocked and it was getting by, but that wasn't the case. Couldn't find anything obvious, and I thought maybe the pressure relief valve was bad. So what I did was I got some food dye and I put it into the plate and I pressurized the plate. I put about 15 pounds of pressure into it. And as I did that, on the front of the plate, on one of the oil passages, all of a sudden I started to see the blue dye come out. So I had found my crack. So now that I found the crack, that cam plate was complete junk. There was no way I could reuse it, and the only thing I can figure is because the cam plate, the stock cam plates are cast aluminum, there was probably a bubble or a flaw, something in there. There was no spider webbing on it anywhere at any time. This was just something brand new. So a stock Harley oil pump that I had just put on, for whatever reason, and the oil pressure wasn't any higher than what it had been normally, it just cracked the oil passage. So this was complete junk. Now, I wish I could have filmed all this to show you what was going on at the time, but unfortunately, I did the work prior to starting doing videos. I do have the old parts left, so I can show you exactly what happened. But my recommendation to everybody is get yourself a good oil pressure gauge. I've never had a bike without one, and I've been riding about 50 years. Like I said, I don't trust idiot lights. I trust oil pressure gauges. If I had not sat and watched that drop, I wouldn't have known there was a problem till the engine started making noise, and at that point it would have been doing damage to the inside of my engines. So by having that gauge on there, I have kept from doing any damage on the engine at all. Now, and I'm going to do a follow-up video on this and show you how I corrected it and what I corrected it with. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to subscribe. I'm going to be making more of these videos. Hey, thanks for watching. Be safe out there.